are some guys you think could surprise, both offense and defensively, that end up on the 53-man roster?
Yeah, I am curious about if Gage Larvadan on the offensive side of the ball is going to make the 53-man roster. I'm leaning at this point towards he will. I'm leaning, sorry about that. I'm leaning on this point that he will make the 53-man roster. So that's somebody on offense that has had a tremendous camp, little undersized, and on the roster bubble. But I just think because this wide receiver room isn't very deep right now, they don't have a lot of talent at that position just in general. I think there's probably room for him to make it. I actually think staying on the offensive side of the ball and staying with the skill positions, I wouldn't be surprised if Amani Marshall made the 53, at least initially, over Pierre Strong. I know Pierre Strong has that special teams prowess that he sort of brings to the table here, but I just think Amani Marshall's looked better throughout training camp. Now, there was a report from Diana Rossini today that the Browns are sort of looking around, exploring options to potentially, add to that room. So we'll see what that looks like. I think that also maybe suggests that Quinshon Judkins isn't going to be back anytime soon. So what they do at the running back position will be interesting. On the defensive side, I'm curious to see what happens on the at the defensive tackle spots because the Juwan Briggs trade yesterday, it made some sense. It felt like a math problem to me that like basically, hey, we know we can't keep everybody in this group, so let's get a draft pick and sort of increase our draft position a little bit by trading the seventh and him to the Jets. But I wonder what that means for maybe somebody like Huntington, who I think has had a couple decent preseason games and shown some things. Are they going to keep five for now until my call comes back, and then maybe he becomes the fifth guy? Like, does Sam Kamara have a place on this roster? I think Shelby Harris is pretty much guaranteed to make it. So how many guys they kind of keep in that group? The defensive line group in general is so deep. Like, there's a couple of guys that maybe could surprise us and sneak in there, and we'll sort of see what that ends up looking like as well. But yeah, I think those are a few names that kind of pop up on the radar. I don't think they keep more than three tight ends, but there's been just a boatload of those guys obviously participating in camp, and we've seen some flashes at times from Brendan Bates and Sal Cannella. But I think ultimately that group ends up being just David Njoku, Harold Fannin Jr., and Blake Whiteheart. So yeah, I think those are some of the names that we're talking about in terms of guys that are still sort of fighting for roster spots here going into this final preseason game on Saturday.
Yeah, and I'd watch again. You always watch special teams because if you're out on, and that's one of the reasons I think Huntington could make it. He can play as a D tackle. He can run down and tackle people on special teams, and that's always the back end of your roster. If they're not quarterbacks, they got to be able to do something on special teams.